Fellow countrymen and women, today we find ourselves celebrating the beauty of being the youngest generation in this country. But as I speak to you within the sound of my voice, this can be a blessing, it can also be a curse. Now, let us reflect a bit. A few years ago, many of us were barely in secondary schools. Today, we are in 30s, today we are in 20s, today we are 15 or we are teenagers. And we have found ourselves as the biggest population. And this population, if we don't enhance these things or harness these opportunities well as young people, we will find ourselves in a very dangerous slope. One, elections are here coming. It is time where we are disagreeing without agreeing. As the country prepares for this forthcoming election, I want to speak to us and our hearts and our parents. Today, as we are young people in the country, some of us are already parents. Some of us are just preparing to be parents. But we will need to really look at what that means. Now, let's leave everything aside. Do you know that we will also be the oldest generation? In 30 years from today, in 40 years from today, in 40 years' time from today, we will be the oldest generation and will be the majority of the oldest generation. How are we contributing to the national vision? How are we contributing to the national GDP? How are we contributing to the development of our country as young people? Then we will be old people. We can choose to be young people that will maximize all our talents and opportunities that come our way to be able to build our country. We can choose to be young people that will have what we call a national shared vision for the country. Or we sit and wait like a duck and wait until we are 50s or 60s or 70s and we will be the most populated population of the country. We will be the majority of the most populated group of people, but in a very useless and uncontributing way. A few of us will manage to make it through. Majority of us may not manage to make it through. But at that time, 40 years from today, you will be a grandfather, you will be a mother, you will be a leader, but you can choose to be a leader who will have value, will have added value to the nation, or you can choose to be a leader who will have just contributed to the decline of this country. As we look into getting a lot and more economically or politically informed, let us also look to build our economic manpower. You can agree with me that many of the politicians today that are out there are not having a conversation around the economy, but they are having a conversation around politics. It's because we are programming our generation to think that everything that must be done, everything that must be development must first attain a political certificate. And I'm here to remind us, all of us, that it is our duty to remember that our economy is bigger than our political affiliations. To remember that our country is bigger than all of us. And therefore, the conversations around how we transition on our economies should be our top and first priority. How we prepare for our next 40 years will determine how much resources as a nation we will be having in the next 40 years. When we look at all these things, we need to ask ourselves and reflect, what kind of a generation do we want to be? One that 60% controls the national resources of the country, or one that has only 2% controlling the rest of the resources? We can't sit back and complain, but we are living in a time and an era where information and talents and opportunities are all over. You just need to have the right skills. We need to have the right conversation. As we have the national dialogue and we have the national sober conversations, it is time as this generation to find pride in asking and knocking on those doors, to sit on those tables where decisions are made so that we can also contribute to the nation building, whereby our views can also help to build the Uganda we want, the Kenya we want, the East Africa we want, the Africa we want. Not the puppet Africa, not the puppet Uganda, not the puppetism that the political parties, some of them are using our young generation for. Therefore, as I speak to you today, and if you're within the sound of my voice, it is time we start to look at how to build our economy. It is time we have to be very deliberate and very intentional on how we want to build our economy. Because the economy affects the value of the asset you have. The economy affects the value of the liquid assets you have. The economy affects the value of the money you carry in your pocket or the one that is at the bank. The value affects the exchange rate and the interest rates that is growing within our financial institutions. The value affects the quality and the quantity of the items we can afford. So as a country, it is time to wake up. It is time to put ourselves at the helm of things and realize that what do we need that will be curated for this country to have a vision of 2040, a vision of 2080, vision of 2100. Now, you and I may not be there for the next 70 or 90 years to come, but we must leave something behind. We must fight for things that are right, and we must choose our battles right. And as I speak to you, I pray that within the conversations that I have with you, we will be able to build a consensus on something that you believe it's the right thing to do. Please, as we enjoy our youthfulness or our youthfulhood, may we therefore wake up to realize and how it is important for us to get our hands on deck to build our economy. May we not just look at politics as the solution to some of these things. Thank you so much and have a good time.